The 2021 Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon. While the station wagon may have been a big hit in the United States long ago, today, out of all the cars sold on the U.S. market, only a handful are offered in the wagon body style. Of course, you have mainstays like the Subaru Outback, Audi A4 Allroad, and the Volvo V90 Cross Country, and there are a few more obscure models like the Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo and soon-to-be forever gone Jaguar XF Sportbrake. A few others are out there too, like the car you see here, the Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon, a go-fast wagon that can easily make you forget that you're an SUV-loving American living smack dab in the middle of North America. We recently spent a week with the AMG E63 S to see if it really was a strong, sexy alternative to the many SUVs on the market, and you'll be surprised what we've learned. Mercedes-AMG E63 S Performance. The Mercedes E-Class wagon, being what one could consider a very small piece of a dying breed on the U.S. market, is only offered in two trim levels, the entry-level E450 all-terrain trim with Merck's tried and true 3.0-liter inline-six, or the AMG E63 S, the V8 packing range topping trim of just about every other model Mercedes sells. The two couldn't be further apart in terms of performance, interior appointments, or purpose for that matter, so unless you're trying to go off-road on occasion, you definitely need to look to the E63 S. Q. How much power does the Mercedes-AMG E63 have? Q. The 4.0-liter, biturbo, V8 that powers the E63 S wagon is good for 603 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque. At last check, this makes it the second most powerful wagon on the market outside of the Panamera Sport Turismo Turbo S and Turbo SE Hybrid Sport. For this comparison, however, we're looking to the Audi 6 Rupees Avant, which features a 4.0-liter V8 with 591 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque, and the Panamera 4 SE Hybrid, a model that has a slight advantage thanks to its hybrid powertrain, but still doesn't offer quite as much power at just 552 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. Q. How fast is the Mercedes-AMG E63 S? Q. The Mercedes-AMG E63 S wagon might be big and SUV-heavy at 4,669 pounds, but it's impressively quick, taking just 3.4 seconds to hit 60 miles per hour. The same sprint takes the Audi 6 Rupees Avant and Porsche Panamera 4 SE Hybrid Sport Turismo 3.5 seconds. Be that as it may, the E63 S will fall short in the long run, topping out at just 180 miles per hour, 10 miles per hour short of the 6 Rupees Avant and 2 miles per hour short of the Sport Turismo. Q. How much does the Mercedes-AMG E63 S weigh? Q. The Mercedes-AMG E63 S wagon tips the scales at 4,669 pounds, which also explains how it's a little bit faster to 60 miles per hour than the competition. The 6 Rupees Avant, for example, weighs in at 4,960 pounds, while the Panamera 4 SE Hybrid Sport Turismo comes in at 4,996 pounds. Q. Mercedes-AMG E63 S wagon fuel economy. Q. Despite having 600 horsepower on tap and tipping the scales at more than 2 ton, the AMG E63 S wagon offers decent fuel economy of 16 mpg in the city, 23 mpg on the highway, and 19 mpg combined. In comparison, the Audi 6 Rupees Avant achieves 15 mpg in the city, 22 mpg on the highway, and 17 mpg combined. The hybrid Panamera Sport Turismo, however, takes the cake with 21 mpg in the city, 24 mpg on the highway, and 23 mpg combined. Q. Does the Mercedes-AMG E63 S have a manual transmission? Q. The Mercedes-AMG E63 S, in both sedan and wagon form, is only available with the AMG SpeedShift MCT 9-speed automatic. Likewise, the Panamera 4 SE Hybrid Sport Turismo and Audi 6 Rupees Avant are only available with automatics, albeit 8-speed units. Mercedes-AMG E63 S wagon interior design. Considering the fact that we're talking about not only the mid-level E-Class but the range-topping AMG enhanced E63 S, it should come as no surprise that this wagon's cabin is brimming full of class, high-quality materials, and technology. Highlights include the full leather upholstery, carbon fiber trim, and the MBUX dual-screen, integrated infotainment system and instrument cluster. You'll also find AMG's best seats with superb support for somewhat spirited driving and an overall comfortable cabin. In the wagon model, you also get amazing cargo room that tops the competition. Q. How much cargo room does the AMG E63 S Wagon have? Q. Behind the rear seats, the AMG E63 S Wagon gives you a generous 35 cubic feet of cargo room, that is 5 cubic feet more than the 6 rupees Avant and 20 cubic feet more than what's available in the Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo. Lay down the rear seats and the E63 S Wagon will swallow up 64 cubic feet worth of cargo, that's nearly 20 cubic feet more than the Panamera Sport Turismo and 5 cubic feet more than the 6 rupees Avant. Q. Does the Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon have a lot of passenger space? Q. The Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon benefits from the best cargo room you can get, but passenger room is a somewhat different story. Kind of, right off the bat, Porsche doesn't publish interior specs for its models, so we have no basis of comparison on paper. The 6 rupees Avant offers up more headroom in the front, and nearly 2 inches of extra legroom in the rear over that of the E63 S Wagon. In general, however, the E63 S Wagon is pretty spacious, and you'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference between interior space in it compared to the 6 rupees. Check out the full specs in the table below. Q. Is the Mercedes-AMG E63 S comfortable? Q. Outside of interior space, you'll find that the E63 S Wagon is just as comfortable as other cars in this niche, including the 6 rupees Avant and Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo. We tend to prefer AMG's seats over Audi's, but they are generally on par with one another. When you cross into 6-figure pricing territory as you do with these high-performance wagons, comfort isn't really a question. Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon exterior design. In the front, it's downright impossible to tell the difference between the AMG E63 S Wagon and the sedan. It features the same sporty grille and evolved but somewhat dated front fascia design. It's quite aggressive for a wagon, we must admit, but one could argue that the headlights are a little too bulky for a modern vehicle. The side profile reveals just how much longer the wagon is to the sedan, but the upper body line and belt line pitch downward OT the rear to match the roof, giving the E63 S Wagon a CLS-like bended look. That's okay, but not the most attractive thing on the planet. The rear end features a lot of the sedan's DNA, including the tail lights and rear diffuser, the latter of which helps the rear end look a little sportier than your typical wagon. Is it a 600 horsepower high-performance wagon? Yes. Does it look the part? Yes. Is it necessary? Only if you really like the wagon look. Q. How big is the Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon? Q. The Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon measures 197.1 inches long, 75.1 inches wide, and 58 inches tall. These figures make it taller than the 6 rupees Avant but more than an inch shorter Sport Turismo. It's also not as wide as either competitor, but it is taller than the Sport Turismo by nearly 2 inches. As far as garageability, you're going to need a deep garage. Your typical 2-car garage will definitely work in terms of width, but depth will need to be checked prior to bringing this baby home as it might be a tight fit. You can check out how the E63 S stacks up to the 6 rupees Avant and Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo in the table below. Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon pricing. Pricing for the E63 S Wagon is where things get a little dicey. With only 2 trim levels of the E-Class wagon available, there's a considerable price gap between the two, where the E450 all-terrain wagon commands just $67,600. The E63 S Wagon hits the wallet for $112,450, and that's before options, taxes, and other fees. It's not the most expensive wagon in this niche though. The 6 rupees Avant is a bit cheaper at 110,000 $110,045, but the Porsche Panamera 4 SE Hybrid Sport Turismo commands a whopping $117,300. All compete well in terms of comfort, luxury, and performance, so making a decision will fall into the area of price point, the number of options you want, and brand loyalty. Which will you choose? Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon competition. Being a wagon on the US market is far from easy considering the unwavering love of SUVs, but the E63 S Wagon does have some sizable competition. The two we've chosen to look to are the less powerful but just as fast Audi 6 Rupees Avant and the Porsche Panamera 4 SE Hybrid. How do they stack up? Well, let's take a good look, shall we? Q. Is the Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon better than the Audi 6 Rupees Avant? Q. The Audi 6 Rupees Avant's biggest advantage over the AMG E63 S is its price point and similar power output. The exterior design isn't quite as aggressive as what you get with anything that wears an AMG badge, and Audi is, for the most part, not quite as luxurious as its other German competitors, so don't expect the interior materials to always be as good. The interior design is quite fresh, and the cabin is comfortable, but it's really hard to beat Merc's MBUX infotainment system. Cargo room also falls a bit shy compared to the E63 S, but not by much, so that's a negligible point at best. Under the hood is where you'll find things get interesting. The 6 Rupees Avant is powered by a 4.0-liter V8 that produces a cool 591 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. This gives it the ability to hit 60 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds on the way to a top speed of 190 miles per hour. That makes it 0.1 seconds slower to 60 miles per hour but 10 miles per hour faster when you keep the hammer down and push it to the max. If the Avant wasn't so heavy at 4,960 pounds, about 300 pounds heavier than the AMG, the Avant would likely be just as fast and its fuel efficiency would be up to par too. By the way, it manages 15 mpg in the city, 23 mpg on the highway, and 17 mpg combined, putting it 1 and 2 mpg short, respectively. Pricing for the 6 Rupees Avant comes in at $110,050, making it about $2,400 cheaper before options, taxes, and other fees. Read our full review on the Audi 6 Rupees Avant. Q. Is the Mercedes-AMG E63 S Wagon better than the Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo? Q. A Sport Turismo is Porsche fancy talk for wagon, and the Panamera Sport Turismo is, arguably, one of the most attractive on the global market. It does, however, feature a weird blend of 911 DNA in the front, and the long hood does looking out of place. Otherwise, it's a very attractive car. On the inside, you'll find a cabin that's up to par with what you'll get from the AMG E63 S, including one of the best infotainment systems on the market, attractive and sporty woof veneer, and very comfortable sports seats that set a standard in comfort and support. However, interior and exterior design isn't where the Panamera Sport Turismo shines. Under that odd 911-like hood, sits a 2.9-liter, twin-turbo, V6 that is paired with a hybrid system. This system produces a total of 552 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque, all of which is channeled through Porsche's 8-speed PDK automatic transmission. It might fall pretty short of the E63 in terms of horsepower and torque, but it runs pretty steady if you put the hammer down, needing just 3.5 seconds, 0.1 seconds longer to hit 60 miles per hour. Run up to the max speed and you'll exceed the E63 S by 2 miles per hour to 182 miles per hour. Pricing for the Panamera 4 SE Hybrid Sport Turismo comes in at $117,300, making it the most expensive of the bunch and right around $5,000 more expensive than the E63 S Wagon. Read our full review on the Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo. Final thoughts. In a world where cars are dying and big people movers are starting to take over, a car like the AMG E63 S Wagon really sticks out in a good way. It's pretty unique on the road, people pay attention when they see it, and with more than 600 horsepower on tap, the E63 S Wagon is a sure performer. The only downside is the six-figure price tag, but beyond the performance, the design and luxury appointments definitely justify that if it's within your budget. Overall, you can't go wrong with the E63 S Wagon, and you'll definitely stand out in terms of taste, that's for sure.
If you liked this video, please share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.